Greetings, one and all. At the beginning of the 2016-2017 NHL regular season, things were looking very good for the Colorado Avalanche. They were undefeated in the preseason. They started the season 3-1-0. It was awesome for Colorado Avalanche fans. Then the next 50 or so games come and went, and the Avalanche sit firmly at last place in the NHL standings, with one of the worst regular season records in recent memory. Sure, not one of the worst in NHL history, but one of the worst in recent memory. At the time of this recording, they sit at a 16-win, 38 loss, and 2 overtime or shootout loss record. Yeah, it's really that bad. Now this begs the question, why have the Colorado Avalanche been so bad this season? They haven't just been bottom 5 in the league bad, they have been firmly sit your ass at 30th place and accept that you've been crap all year bad. Like, we're not talking about, they might get a top 5 pick in the draft, they've tanked the season, they've completely obliterated their season. Now, I started thinking about this question in a little more detail, and I've come up with 4 reasons I believe are why the Colorado Avalanche have sucked so badly this year. Remember, these are relatively educated opinions that I've formed. I've done my research, but you are allowed to disagree. It's fine. It's the internet. Most people disagree anyway. And if you do, I would love to hear why you think Colorado have had a bad year in the comments below. Do let me know. Now the pleasantries are over. Let's get on with the show. Head coach Patrick Roy walked from the team, and first-time NHL coach Jared Bednar shows his inexperience in the NHL. Jared Bednar won the AHL Calder Cup last year with Colorado's Cleveland American Hockey League affiliate, but that hasn't translated into NHL success, I should say. I mean, Patrick Roy, he was the head coach of the Avalanche. He decided to walk before the start of the season. It's never really been told exactly why, but it was more sort of differences between Sakic and Roy and things like that. So he decided to leave. They promoted Jared Bednar up to the Colorado Avalanche team, and it's clear he hasn't done his job right, along with the rest of the higher-ups in the Avalanche organization. 16, 38, and 2. He's got over twice the amount of losses that he does wins in his first year. That's not a great way to introduce a coach to the league, is it? Give him 16 wins and 38 losses. That's awful. Poor Jared Bednar. But at the same time, it is quite a lot to do with him. The majority of it is kind of his fault as well. Now, it really does make you wonder whether Bednar will remain at the helm of the head coaching position for the Avalanche next year. Will the 2017-18 season have him still being the head coach? This would be a coach firing I could completely understand compared to most that have happened this season. There's been about 6 coaches that have been fired from their NHL team this season. Most of them for absolutely ridiculous reasons, I think, or their team's not doing as well as they should be. Fair enough, but at the same time, like, take Michel Therrien. His team's first place in their division, he gets fired, you know? I mean, there's obviously more going on that the press and the organisations don't want to allow. But as I always say, it's usually you can't put all of the blame on a head coach. I still feel that as well, but Jared Bednar, he has not done very well, has he? 16, 38, and 2. I would not be surprised if he was out of an NHL job come the 2017-18 season. I mean, would that surprise anybody, especially given the season that they've had? Now, the next reason I have, the key players on the Colorado Avalanche are not stepping up to their responsibilities on the team. 21-year-old Nathan MacKinnon has 12 goals and 38 points. 24-year-old Gabriel Landeskog has 11 goals and 23 points, whilst 26-year-old Matt Duchene has 15 goals and 34 points. It's tough for a team to compete in today's NHL without at least 1 point per game player on your team. These 3 have the ability to be a point per game player on this team, but they've regressed massively in their development this season, and that shows in the team's overall record. I mean, if you look at these guys, the only player... Well, MacKinnon has the most points out of the 3, and he's the youngest. He has 38 points. He has as many points as regulation losses they've got already so far this season. He's averaging a point in every loss that the team has. Gabriel Landeskog, I mean, he's got 11 goals. The captain of their team has 11 goals and 23 points. The captain of their team has the least amount of points of the three of them. Landeskog, McKinnon and Duchesne really need to step it up for next season. I mean, there's a lot of trade talk for Gabriel Landeskog and Matt Duchesne. Nathan McKinnon is basically the only player that's not up for trade for the trade deadline coming up March 1st. And I understand that. Nathan McKinnon, he is a great player. He's having a bit of a behind year, but I mean, considering how the team is playing, he's on almost a 40-point season, averaging almost a point every 2 games. That's not too bad for a team that's lost double the amount of games than they have won. Like, that's fine. Well, it's not fine, but you know what I mean. Like, McKinnon, I can understand why he's sort of the only protected player from the trade. Landeskog and Duchesne, they both have the chance to walk or be traded at the end of this season. I would not be surprised if either of them were traded. I'm sure Colorado fans wouldn't like it, but you've got to think of it this way. Their team is in complete tatters right now. They need something. They need to fix their defense. They've got decent forwards, but they need to fix their defense. Speaking of defense, their defense is poor and they have no depth at the position at all. Their team is 30th in the NHL for goals against, which does not surprise me considering their record. Erik Johnson, arguably now their best defenseman on the roster. Some Colorado fans might be thinking, really? Erik Johnson is our best defenseman now? Well, he is, guys. He is, apparently. He's only played 23 games this season. He's been injured for quite a lot of the season. Now, Patrick Waugh, when he was in charge of the team, or the head coach of the team, considered Nick Holden to be the team's best defenseman when both were still part of the Avalanche organisation. However, Joe Sakic decided to trade Nick Holden to the New York Rangers in the offseason. By the way, thanks for Nick Holden, Colorado. He's a great player. We got him for a 4th round pick. Cheers, guys. That's awesome. That's been a fucking steal. Cheers, lads. But they picked up Mark Barberio off waivers from the Montreal Canadiens, of course, or the Tampa Bay Lightning. I can't remember which one. I think it's the Habs. But he isn't exactly going to save their defensive core, is he? Mark Barberio, a guy that's been put on waivers, isn't exactly going to save the entire Colorado Avalanche defensive core, is he? No offense to Mark Barberio, of course. He's a solid defenseman. He's one of those guys, he adds depth to the position, which is what I've said they don't have. However, Colorado should have done more, or they need to do more in order to fix their defense. They've got Tyson Barrie and Erik Johnson. They're pretty much the 2 guys. They've got Francois Beauchemin, who's basically getting his Zimmer frame out. He's almost done with his career. Like, it's not looking good for the defensive core of the Colorado Avalanche. They have prioritised aging veterans over players in their prime or up-and-coming players, and you can see that it hasn't worked. It really hasn't worked because they're last in the standings. And finally, my last reason for why the Colorado Avalanche have sucked so bad this season is the awful goaltending from their quote-unquote starting goaltender. Semyon Varlamov. What a year he's had. Fucking hell. Semyon Varlamov, who is now injured for the rest of the season, I believe. He went, this season, 6 wins, 17 regulation losses, and 0 overtime or shootout losses. 6, 17, and 0. With a goals against average of 3.38 and a save percentage of .898 in 24 games this year. That's atrocious. For a starting goaltender to put up numbers like that, wow, that's just, that's pretty bad if you ask me. Now, you're not exactly going to win the President's Trophy when you're starting goalie, who, by the way, earns $6 million a year on his contract with the Avalanche, by the way. $6 million to lose almost 3 times the amount of games that he's won. 6, 17, and 0. Really, Semyon Varlamov? He's having surgery, I believe, which is keeping him out for the rest of the year. And a lot of Colorado players are going, that might have been the problem. That's why he hasn't played that well. We'll get him back next year and he'll be fit and healthy. Are you sure about that, Colorado fans? He went 6, 17, and 0. Now, whilst partial blame for the awful goaltending and stats of Semyon Varlamov can go to a lack of solid defensive core, as we described earlier, the goalie has to pick up the slack when the defence isn't having a good night, which in Colorado's case has been a frequent occurrence this season. Their defence hasn't stood up. That's been quite a regular thing this season for the Colorado Avalanche. But Semyon Varlamov couldn't get it done. They've got Calvin Pickard, or Pickard, however you wish to call his name. He's been playing most of the starting job now, considering Varlamov's injured. And that hasn't really gone that well either. I mean, they've won their latest game. Like, Colorado fans are actually celebrating when their team wins a game. Like, how desperate and how awful do I feel sympathy for the Colorado Avalanche fans? They're celebrating a win. Like, you celebrate a win usually, but they'll even celebrate when they go to overtime, for God's sake. It's not as if, we're on a 6-game win streak, this is amazing. They're happy when they're only going a 4-game losing streak. Colorado Avalanche, Joe Sakic, Jared Bettner, Matt Duchene, Gabriel Landeskog. What the fuck has happened with your team? Jesus Christ. 16, 38 and 2. So those are the reasons why the Colorado Avalanche have been so bad this season. Are there any other reasons that you can think of that the Colorado Avalanche have played like shit this year? Please feel free to leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I'm expecting a wave of angry Colorado fans to go, Odd Man Rush, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just a filthy rags fan. I've done my research. Your team's shit this year. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.